What is up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and welcome to another video. Today we're just talking. I've just got a couple things I want to chat about, and I haven't done one of these in a while. So if it's been a while and you haven't been here, I usually talk about action figures, comics, character design. Sometimes we mix in a little bit of anime, movies. I talk about movies a lot. I used to do it more, but I found over time the movie reviews get less attention, so I don't do them as much. But I may try out doing a couple more and see if they, I'll give them a second chance and see if they get more attention. But I primarily review action figures, and across all different genres. And I shouldn't say all different genres. That's actually not true. Not fully. A bunch of different lines, let's say, from across time. Right now I'm huge into McFarlane stuff because I have been a fan of the DC universe, and he's doing amazing DC figures right now. Almost all his figures are pretty amazing, but I also am a huge Ninja Turtle fan, huge Transformers fan, huge Motu fan. X-Men, love the X-Men. So stuff like that, you'll see. I'm a martial artist. I've been doing martial arts for over 30 years. I have been teaching for about 10 of that 30. I stopped when my son was born, and we're starting back up now because he just started boxing a couple months ago. Started this year, and he's 10. He's finally mature enough where he gets, the idea of not hurting people with what he learns. So, yeah, we're training, which is pretty cool. And he chose boxing on his own. He always chose boxing characters in video games, which I kind of, I peeped it and figured, oh, he's probably going to be, interested in boxing. And here we are. That's his shtick. So, yeah, that's what's going on right now. A couple things I've been noticing, and I'm going to get to some of them in this video, because I think one thing that I'm going to talk about is hype. Hype really kills, for me, it kills a lot of things. Did you guys see the reel or the whatever they're called on YouTube that I think they're called shorts from Retro Blasting? Michael was talking about nostalgia becoming toxic. This is something I've talked about for years. I think I did a video on this over 10 years ago, where I talked about how they have weaponized nostalgia to the point where it's used as a tactic strictly to sell you shit. Not quality shit, just shit in general. And talking about quality things seems to not be the way that people handle, adults deal with this stuff. We should be talking about shit that's quality, which is why I do videos like this, where I got a bunch of shit to talk about. A lot of it's quality. Some of it varies in quality, but we're talking about what's good, what's cool, what's well done from this time, from some other time, even from companies I don't like. Super 7. I can't stand Super 7, but these turtles, quality, man. Quality. People give them hardly any, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't objectively look at them and put them under the microscope the right way, where you can say, X, Y, and Z are not up to snuff, but A, B, and C are up to snuff. You know what I mean? And they're up to snuff this way. And it's an annoying thing that I see with a lot of like quote unquote reviewers. They get on and they show their bias, but they can't give you an objective review about anything. I was actually just talking about this with Bodhi earlier this morning. You could have two figures, you could have Total Heroes Mr. Freeze, you have McFarlane Mr. Freeze, and they will subjectively try to tell you that one of these is better than the other, and it's the one that more people might have. You know, they might, I'm not saying they actually did this, but I'm just giving you a goofy example. They'll say this one, clearly aimed at kids because it's blue and black, is better than this one because the suit is white. You know, when objectively looking at them, you can clearly see that the McFarlane one is a better figure. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no comparison here. They're both cool figures, though. For a long time, this was my modern Mr. Freeze. Now I can have this one as a modern Mr. Freeze. I've never had him in white. I might repaint him, but he's pretty cool. I just hate this gun. So I gave the gun to this figure. This I use as the classic Mr. Freeze, like old school. And, you know, it's the shapes are more reminiscent of the superpowers, whereas this one, it's the colors that are more reminiscent of superpowers. But, you know, when you listen to the reviews, they're going to all say, oh, this looks just like the superpowers one from back in the day. Objectively, that's incorrect. But, you know, that's become the norm. You just have to have one or two similarities. That's enough for most people. It's not enough for me. What else? I mean, it's just, that's an example, you know. Let's talk about this guy. The Last Ronin. This is Michelangelo. If you didn't know, now you know. You're welcome. It is what it is. So NECA did 2 or 3 of these. They did one where there's a hood that goes to this. I took the hood off. I didn't even feel like keeping that in there. Plus, I wanted to be able to move his head around. And he comes with goggles, and I put the goggles. I don't have the goggles out, but he does come with some goggles. Why is this not clearing up? Clear up, goddammit. There you go. Is there not enough light? That's weird. Anyway, I think you can tell what's going on. Let me move some things. But anyway, he came with a lot of gear, which is pretty cool because a lot of times, you know, when you have ninjas, some companies, you know, Hasbro, they skimp on the weaponry. So you only have a handful of things, but, you know, he's got the sword. Somewhere around here, I have his staff. Oh, that Donatello's holding it. And then he came with a sai. You know what? I'm going to go get that stuff. Okay, I'm back. So here's the hood. What's cool about this hood situation is you can see there's a peg in there, and that peg sticks into where the bandana tie goes. See that? You remove this tie and just make sure you plug in the peg, and then the hood fits perfectly. Now, I'm a big fan of having the hood sit on the head so that you can still move the head around. They did this with the most recent Storm Shadow, which I think is really cool. And it makes him look really cool and mysterious, and just like in the comic. But they did a version without all the gear. He's got the lower half gear on. I'll put this in here because he does have the sai. So I don't get why it's only one. I think the other one got destroyed in the explosion, but they should have had 2 new. It's like you can't get more size or make more size or something, you know. But this is Raph's, of course. This is Mike's. This Tonfa is actually Michelangelo's own Tonfa. Sword is Leo's sword. It's kind of cool that there's this rope holding this circle, but I would have preferred if all this was sculpted because, I mean, this wobbly shit and then the rope being kind of... I'm going to end up having to replace that rope. You know, either over time, something's going to wear out. I might have to replace the ring and the rope. The ring itself is really soft. I mean, it's pliable, I guess I should say, not soft. It's not going to break, but over time, it's going to wear away. And that might not be the greatest. That's the staff that he came with from Donatello. He also came with Donatello's like night vision goggles that I would imagine Donatello would have used. And these are pretty cool. Here's another head. His mouth open. Bitch. Got a bunch of hands. Smoke bomb of some sort or a flash grenade. I can't remember what this was. And then he has these shuriken. Oh, he also has this grappling claw with a nice rope on the end. But these shuriken are dangerous. Please, I just got stabbed picking one up. Please be careful with them. You do not want to get stabbed. I prefer the ones that come with these guys over here. But yeah, it's a pretty cool figure. He's pretty posable, but he's stiff, so you got to be careful. And it's weird because the way he's designed, his shell is like really tiny. It's as if Mike got so big that his shell just, you know, he outgrew his shell. So this dude has an ab crunch. What? It doesn't even make sense. You could have foregone that. It's a Ninja Turtle. We know that they can't really bend forward and stuff, but you know, it is what it is. But he's posable. He can throw kicks. Decent amount of range if you see what I'm doing here. You got to be careful. If you notice, I'm not doing the pull-out lateral splits all the time. I'm making him kick the way one would actually kick. You know, looks good. You can have him jump. Now you can have him actually jump and throw a kick the way a ninja would. So he's almost on par with the almost as far as posability. He's almost on par with my V-Toys Ninja, which I don't have on here, which is a shame. I was playing with him, so he's out and about, but I have him throwing a jump kick, point his feet a little bit better, so it's like but yeah, it's pretty cool, pretty posable. The fact that he can twist at the waist is nice. It's not a bad looking figure. He's huge though. He's huge. And I know that was intentional, but he's big. I mean, look at him compared to his previous self, where their feet are. You can just tell they're in semi-similar pose, and look at how big the other one is compared to and these guys are big, you know? So as you can see, I finally finished this line. Well, the four brothers. All I want now is Mondo Gecko. I wasn't going to get him at first, but after getting Ace Duck and being blown away with him, I was like, yeah, I have to get Mondo Gecko. I have to get Ray Fillet, Bebop and Rocksteady, and I think that'll be it. If ever I can get foot soldiers for cheap, I will start picking those up. But you know, there was a point in time where I was going to get a bunch of these guys, but I don't know how easy these guys are going to be to find. I haven't really been looking. And this is an old Fortnite. I want to say this is the first or second wave, the Enforcer. This is an old skin. But I'm not a fan of Fortnite, but I love these toys. This is a Jazzwares figure. Pretty well done figure, honestly. Everything fits properly. You know, you got a place for things to go. See, the shield can sit on his back. I like that, you know. I like the look. The paint is phenomenal. All that I hate, and I fixed it myself, are these hand joints. You can kind of see them here, that the hands have a open and close joint like the old Toy Biz figures did. I just glued them kind of open, you know, slightly open, so you can stuff weapons, guns, things in there, and they can actually grip them. And so it makes them a better figure that way. I think that's one of those advancements. These, we don't need this. Sculpt a hand, a holding things hand, trigger finger hand, you know, maybe a finger extended, trigger finger extended, not on the trigger, and, you know, call it a day. Instead of giving him, you know, hands that open and close. It's not necessary, you know. But anyway, foot soldiers, if I can find cheap ones, I am down, because that's one of those things that you can never get enough of. And it seems like nobody wants to make them affordable. They're always trying to make you pay the same amount for the foot soldiers that you pay for everyone else. And I think it's safe to say nobody's favorite Ninja Turtles character is the fucking foot soldier, you know? They're fodder. Just like the freaking, what are they called? The Cobra Troopers. Cobra Troopers are cannon fodder. So we shouldn't be paying the same amount for them as you pay for the face characters from the, you know, from the line. It makes no sense. I'm trying to move things out the way. I was talking to Zorpox a couple weeks ago about a bunch of Cyclops figures because Cyclops is my favorite X-Man, and they've been redoing him, and Hasbro finally did one that makes sense, which is the one in the VHS collection. It's overpriced, so wait till you can get it on sale, but it is an awesome figure. But my second favorite one is this one from X-Men vs. Street Fighter by Toy Biz. Now, I was talking to ODC, that's me, about the quality of the soft goods that is used on certain types of figures, and how there are certain figures that they pretty much used higher grade materials and they didn't break down over 30 some odd years. This is from 97. You know what I mean? Hasn't broken down yet. My Wesley Snipes Blade figure, the first Blade figure from the first semi-Marvel Legends, it was a movie figure. I still have it, and his coat did not break down. Whereas the Blade 2, that figure, it's also from Toy Biz. It was a cheaper grade of pleather. It broke down. But anyway, I got this before that Blade, and this coat is still in great condition inside and out. And this is my one from childhood. He's one of the ones that I brought with me when I moved to college, and he survived. And even though it's pretty much a recolor with a new head and this jacket of the Water Wars Cyclops by Toy Biz. Water Wars was a great line because it's when they started to imitate Joe Madureira's artwork. And Joe Madureira was doing Age of Apocalypse, and then he started to be the regular X-Men artist during that time. It was like late 90s. One of my favorites, one of my inspirations. So I was like, I need X-Men that meet that copy or follow his style. You know what I'm saying? So this one has always been a favorite. I've had him fight things. He's taken blows, but if you notice, the paint is not very scuffed up. He's not as jacked up as some of the toys I got later on, which is strange. You would think that he would be in like horrible shape considering, it's an old figure, but he looks good. I'm going to turn this over here and see if the light, move this over here a little bit and see him under the light. He looks good, It's my list of things that I'm going over. But he looks really good. And it's the fact that he's got the darker blue, because this is what I always colored him with, because in the comics, his costume is dark blue and the musculature is highlighted. You see where the light hits the bulbous parts of muscle, and then you have the gradation going down to a shadow. And I love that. That's how Jim Lee used to do it. And that's why I love it. And that's one of the things I wanted with the Marvel Legends version, which I liked about the Marvel Legends version that has the coat. He's also got a darker kind of blue. I think I put him up. Yeah, I put him away. I thought I had him still out, but I put him away. He has a darker blue, and then he has the brown jacket. But anyway, very cool figure. I just want to talk about this, give love to an old figure. I don't know how much this guy goes for these days. I wouldn't really pay that much for him. I have seen him at conventions. He's a pretty dope figure. And I mean, most of them are in good shape. So, if you see him and you like old figures, pick him up. Even the head sculpt is pretty well done. It's not a bad head sculpt. I'll zoom in because for some reason it doesn't look as clear as I would like it to look. Let me see something. Let's see if I get up close what we get. Oh, okay. Excuse me. Beautiful head sculpt. Got enough light. You see the X is still there. You know how in old figures, a lot of times when you play with them, I don't know if it's a difference in the kind of paint that they used, but the decals would always rub off. Like I had so many Batman figures where the bat symbol just scrubbed off. Same thing with Superman. There's big chunks scrubbed out of it because we played with it and made him stand up, chest in front of things, blocking bullets and shit. And so you have to. And yeah, over time, it's like the oils just rubbed it off. I don't know what kind of paint they used for this, but the process is a little bit different. You can kind of see like an airbrushed, like look around the X and in the crevices of where the Y belt hits his chest, you can kind of see like overspray. But it looks almost like airbrush, like they sealed and airbrushed it, but it looks good. It looks really good. That X was a casualty of a lot of play. This X stood up to it a little bit more, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's a great figure. I'm glad I still have them. The Great Purge. There were many casualties. Let's see what else we got going on that we could talk about. Oh, I guess while we're at it, let's talk about this motherfucker right here. This is the Super 7 movie He-Man. And this is the Mattel movie He-Man. With the Super 7 head. Because there's no point in even talking about let's look at it up close. There's no point in talking about the other head, This is the Super 7 alternate head that was packaged with this figure. You can tell it's based on the sketch, the concept art, and not Dolph Lundgren. Just the hair is reminiscent of Dolph Lundgren, and you can kind of tell what they were going for. And in this one, it's straight up Dolph Lundgren, young Dolph. You can tell jawline, everything, and he's got the mullet. You can just see it. But anyway, what I wanted to focus on was the fact that this one was $50, and there's a lot of problems, from things like his belt. We're going to zoom in on that. This belt ripping when you move the legs. See how it should be glued down, and it should be higher up so it doesn't interfere with the hip movement. But when you move it, you can see it's ripped. I have to glue it back down. Things like this hand. He doesn't come with alternate hands. So this hand is big because the pistol has a huge handle. See that? Like, look, this is the handle for the sword. Oh, okay, I forgot I had a clip. This is the handle for the sword. This is the handle for the pistol. And they're supposed to go to the same figure. That's just backwards. So you can't put the sword cannot go in this hand. It just, see that? It can't even grip it. It's barely hanging in there. Look at it. It's terrible. But because he's got a trigger finger and everything, I don't know where you are. Let's go. Trigger finger and everything. It holds this gun properly. Just this gun. That's essentially what it's for. Now, all of his other weapons, like these 2 extra knives, look at how small those handles are. Same thing with this one. Look at how small that handle is. He can't hold it. This is the grip. And, here's the knife. I know, it's unintentionally pervy, but don't be pervy. It just... See what I'm saying? It can't hold in there. I need to move the turtles out of the way, since we've already talked about them. Move them out the way so that we can see white, and it can the camera can focus on whatever it is that I'm looking at and not the turtles, because they're so beautifully colorful, But anyway, 4 Horsemen did this figure. And so being that they're the great grandpappies when it comes to He-Man and stuff, I was expecting this figure to be the fucking bomb. You know, I was so geeked. And, you know, in my review, I told you about how I felt about the figure. I felt like it shouldn't have been a $50 figure. All right. But like I was saying, I was hoping that he was going to be the bomb, you know? And it looked cool having the Dolph Lundgren head on him. But check this out. So this red cape, it's kind of cheapo. It's not actually fitting where it's supposed to be. It's just a literal square that you plug. It's plugged in, glued in between these two pieces of armor, right? Here's the Mattel one. This is a $30 figure. The head sucks, so ignore the head. This head, if you have or you can get a hold of the Dolph Lundgren head from this, put it on here and you have a banger of a figure. But check this out. Number one, the sword, the knives, both knives, and the gun all have the same size handles so that you don't need special hands to hold all this stuff. Number two, he's got this up and down joint so that he can actually hold aloft his sword, as the saying goes. Whereas this one has the in and out. See that? And can't hold it up unless you're clever like me. And another thing is that he's got extra straps so that, like, when you're doing stuff, like when you pull his arm up, it stretches out this strap here. And potentially, the way this is set up, it could rip depending on how high up you hold his sword. So you have to be clever. That's about the best you can do. And it'll work, you know? But I mean, come on. There's no comparison. Then, so all the sheaths have joints because the belt and the sheath themselves are two separate parts, right? And looking at them side by side, all the detail is there. It's just slightly different colors. The colors are more vibrant on this one, whereas this one, they're dull. But I mean, look at that. Even some of the details, they're a little bit softer here, and they're rougher here, kind of sharp here. You know, better paint job in some ways. This looks newer. And even though it's a little bit different, it gets the job done. And we'll get close so you can see what I'm talking about. So these, look at these knee pads and shin guards, right? Knee pads and shin guards. It's not that big of a world of difference, but you know, there's differences there. But the important details are there, and these look cleaner, the new one, whereas the older one looks dirty. But so there's the articulation aspect, double jointed elbow, because he's got the same articulation that all the Masterverse figures have, because this is the Masterverse He-Man body. Nothing. Look at the belt. Remember how I showed you before that the belt was ripping when you do? He can do the splits, and nothing. You just turn the. I don't know if this one turns. Does it? No, this one doesn't turn. But there's enough give up in here so that when you do this, not that He-Man would be doing the splits, but if you happen to have to do a kick with this side, no rip, no tear. Look how thick that plastic is. So that way you don't have any issues. It's just an engineered figure, you know, an actually engineered figure. And if you wanted to, you could put the head from one of your other He-Man guys on this figure, and then you could make this in canon the Rebel leader He-Man. You know what I'm saying? Because in the story, that's the point of the armor. He had to get new armor because Skeletor took over Grayskull and the powers of Grayskull. He stripped him of those powers, and so he needed another way that he could, you know, fight against his arch nemesis, which is a dope-ass story that I wish we got, and we didn't. Here's another one. Remember I showed you the red cape? Well, He-Man didn't have a red cape in the movie. He-Man had a very maroon cape. Look at the detail. I mean, yeah, this is a little bit transparent. You can kind of see through it because of all this light. But, you know, you put them down here. Look at all that. Zoom in on it. All that nice that border, that royal border. Look at that shit. And like I said, $50, $30. And, you know, one of the big problems is the hype and the nostalgia by itself is what sold this figure, you know? And when you buy him, the head sculpt in the package that he has on is this head. So a lot of people didn't realize that in the package, I mean, not until you got it, you know, that in the package you get the Dolph Lundgren head. And, you know, for a lot of us, that was like the thing, you know, that was the seal dealer or the deal sealer. Jesus. We saw Dolph Lundgren's likeness and we're like, hell yeah, man, that's going to be it. And we saw that, you know, the Four Horsemen did the sculpts and we're like, it's an ultimate and everything. And I told you in my review, it's not very ultimate. He doesn't come with anything else. No extra hands, just the extra head, these accessories. That's it. This one comes with an extra head. He comes with the accessories and he comes with extra hands. The joints that you do have, you have double jointed knees. He still doesn't. Double jointed elbows. He doesn't have it. The head has a decent range of motion, even when I'm not using the actual head that it came with, you know? It's a lot of motion. And then it's more accurate, you know? It's just more film accurate. The cape is actually designed to fit this figure properly with a curve. So you have the ends are longer and the center has a scoop so that you can actually put the sword in the sheath that way. The sheath works perfectly. There's so much good in the way this was designed, and this is the retail $30 equivalent of, you know, that $50 figure. So, you know, I was geeked to get this. I ended up learning that how good they were because my son, my youngest son, a little after Christmas, he found Skeletor. And looking at this Skeletor, you know, he's the reason why I love that movie so much. Frank Langella used to terrify me. But look at that face. It's awesome. And then, like, overall, his proportions, he's taller and longer and not so stout like the, you know, the version from Super 7. So you get a different feel for this figure, you know, like you get a different kind of proportion for this figure. And I was kind of surprised. I'm like, damn, that looks more like Frank Langella. He was taller, he's not as bulky. Whereas the original, you know, Ultimates are extremely bulky. Now, I'm not getting rid of the Skeletors because the Skeletor fares better than the He-Man figure. I think because of the fact that it's not a likeness per se, it's makeup, it's prosthetics. The prosthetics really, you just had to get the prosthetics, get the figure to look like the guy in the prosthetics, and then that works. And they did it, you know what I mean? They did a great job with that. So they were able to get away with it because we know who's under that makeup, but, you know, for legal purposes, he can't be like, that's my likeness. It's not really his likeness. It's makeup on top of his likeness. It's Skeletor's face, you know? So we didn't have to go through as many hoops as we had to go through with him, you know, to get him. But I'm impressed. Mattel, like, I mean, you guys should know by now, I love the Masterverse line. I don't have any problems with it. I think just about every figure they've released has been a hit. There's been a couple that were kind of like, meh. And then they redid them, like Beastman. He was awesome. And then they redid Merman. He's been awesome. The freaking Ram Man. I've never even really dug Ram Man. I have the 2000X version, but the version that they're about to release is pretty awesome. He's huge, which is cool. I always thought he should be a big wrecking ball of a character. Did a great job with him. And then Too Bad. I have Too Bad. He's an awesome figure as well. Huge. He's bigger than all the other guys, you know? I think he's bigger or as big as... He might be a little bigger than Beastman. And Beastman is the biggest of the figures to date. So, yeah, the Masterverse line, people are sleeping on it because of nostalgia again. And you shouldn't. It's actually way better than what you've been hearing. If you're smart, you'll jump on it If not, it's fine. Leaves more for the rest of us. Well, I'm not trying to tell you you have to, or trying to force anybody to do anything. I can't do that. Just suggesting if you're looking for a cool, He-Man line, or if you missed out on the previous He-Man figures from, years past, then this is the line to jump on. It's really well done. Even if you can't find the Dolph Lundgren head, you can always use a previous He-Man head and you'll be all set. So I had to talk about them because I haven't really seen anybody. It's like I have to go looking specifically for Motu shit in order to hear, collectors talking about these figures, which is dumb because there's a lot of collectors who collect all kinds of stuff that are talking about other figures. Next up, let's talk about this gentleman over here. So when I was a kid, my brother and I had a handful of the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons figures. He had the coolest figure, though. I think I had this little goblin thing. He was corny, and I lost him very quickly. My brother had this guy, Warduke. And I'm still amazed at that design for what he was back in the day. But now NECA went and they did their own version of Warduke, and it is fucking phenomenal. This is one of the best figures NECA has ever put out. Hands down, no contest. I mean, Jesus. Everything about him is on point. I mean, let's get up close so you can see all the goodness. Look at that head sculpt. The way the eyes are so far back in the head. You see that? It's nuts. This is what I was expecting and I always wanted when it came to like Mythic Legions. And this is because this is what I get from NECA stuff. This is why I forever have a beef with Mythic Legions. I feel like Mythic Legions are extremely overrated because the uniqueness you could get and that you do get from these one-off figures from NECA, you don't necessarily get from many of the Mythic Legions. Because if you get enough of them, you're going to start seeing the same parts over and over. And then on top of that, there's the range of motion, and hands that don't hold weapons and all that stuff. And then just the details. He comes with a decent amount of stuff. I like the fact that he has, an extra holding things hand for his sword. He has another gripping, two different types of gripping hands. There's this one for the knives. See, it's a skinnier grip. And then there's the one he's got on right now for his sword. Then he also comes with a flame effect that goes on top of the broadsword that's in his back. And lastly, he came with this beautiful, crazy looking shield. I know all the edgelords are getting a serious hard on. Dude, skulls! Oh my god, skulls! Ugh. But he had this, and I think the one that he came with, the original came with, was die-cast. So it's pretty dope. Here's the sword. It sits in that sheath. The sheath is beautiful. I love when they do a sheath the right way. That looks great. And it's got these two pieces of plastic that sit really close so that when you get closer to the hilt, they kind of pinch the sword in there so it won't just fall out. And I love it. Love it. But look at this. Sword is wonderful. They did such a good job with this. There we go. Same on both sides. The flame effect just literally slides on top of the blade. God, it was so much easier when I did this the first time I got it on. But it's very snug. See? You don't get this with Mythic Legions. Why? And this isn't an attack. But this is like, if I'm going to pay 30, this was 33. If I'm going to pay $35 or more for a Mythic Legion, then I need this. I need this level of attention, this level of detail, this level of effects. They don't even make these kinds of effects for the figures. I mean, what the fuck? And there's so many people out there who are quick to spend, whatever it is that some, you know, scalper, asshole or Flipper Frank, as they like to call him, whatever he's asking. Meanwhile, you're not getting quality. You're not getting enough quality. Yes, the sculpt is quality, but the figure itself, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily meeting all the quality standards, And, I say this as someone who plays with my figures. So, like, I want it to have that level of quality, So, this stuff bugs me. But, I mean, look at that. He is so menacing. I was impressed. And, like, I can actually, like, make him do stuff without worrying about, like, can his arms reach, If I want him to do a pose where he's, pointing the sword at someone, and then I want the other hand somewhat in the vicinity of the blade. Like, you can do this. You can't do this with your Mythic Legions, but you can do this with this guy. Ooh. Push this hand off. I must apologize for this. But anyway, if you put the two things close, you can have him supporting his sword hand with his armored hand. Now, because of the shoulder pad, it's close, you know what I mean? But the shoulder pad gets in the way. I kind of wish that this shoulder pad raised up, and it kind of can, but I wish it raised up more so that I could get the arm closer. If you work it, you kind of can. I've done it before, but at least you can do this. On your average Mythic Legions, you can't. They just don't move in front of their, they can't move in front of their chest very well, because they just aren't given any of that range of motion. And it sucks, I even was talking about this one time. Me and ODC were going back and forth about Mythic Legions, because, he's all in. I love the designs, but I always feel some kind of way about the figure, like lightweight buyer's remorse once I open up the figure and start trying to play with it, because there's always something lacking, Let's put something else in his other hand. We'll put one of his knives or his short sword in his other hand. But yeah, there's always something lacking. And I'm like, why is it that these cheaper figures can do this? But this independent line, and I think about this because we have to do this with our figures. We have to make sure that our figures can do a lot of the things that, like, competing brands can do. And we have to make sure they do them to a pretty decent level, because we want to see cool pictures and shit. We want to play with these figures too, So we don't want to give you something that's not capable, but, like, that looks really good. And you have these really good deceptive pictures by cats like The Amazing and stuff like that, but the figures themselves are just not necessarily capable of doing, the Mythic Legions. They're just not capable of doing the same things, I mean, you can't do this with the Mythic Legions. And this is a Mattel She-Ra. Look how badass she looks, actually. They really fixed the lameness of this character and made her feel like a straight-up Valkyrie. She's even got biceps. Like, they did a good job, It's strange to me that, like, this isn't something that you hear more of, And it's not to say that, like, all the figures are, everybody else does it better. I mean, remember Mattel's Motu classics? These giant heads, and then, like, there's no movement in the head except for the swivel, and you barely got that because they had so much hair resting on their shoulders. They couldn't even sculpt a curve in between here to allow for you to turn the head a little bit more. Like, make that come up here instead of being so low. You know what I'm saying? I'm pointing out the issue and I'm pointing out the solution at the same time, because that's how you do it. That's the way that, you explain the points. The way that, like, she actually could kick out, but the way that the way that her hips were designed, it only goes but so far. You really have to force it. And when you start forcing it, you have to fight against this skirt piece. And it's the same thing on a lot of the other guys, but you could get kicks out of her. But you won't be able to get the kick and the twist because the twist, they put this skirt piece, the tunic is all one piece, and the articulation is underneath it. So the legs twist on its own, but it might warp this hip skirt thing. So if you want to make her really kick, you gotta worry about potentially fucking up, you know what I mean, the skirt. So these were things that I didn't like, and I felt like, yeah, it's underrated, overrated, because these figures were going for stupid money. I'm thankful I had Big Fun in my neighborhood so that I could go, or in my town, I should say, so that I could go and get these figures. And oftentimes I was getting them for a little bit less than what they were going for on eBay. And that was a godsend, because I was not about to spend, $80 for fucking She-Ra. I'm not even a huge She-Ra fan. I'm a He-Man fan, and I love the fact that the two of them are twins. Anyway, Warduke is a win. I don't know if I want all the other guys. I want the Knight. I forgot his name. It's like Trueheart or some shit like that, or Sir Braveheart or some shit. Anyway, I can't remember his name. Like I said, I didn't have him when I was a kid, but I like Knights, and we don't have enough Knights. And that's part of why I got into Mythic Legions. And I went hard on the, what's his name? The Necronominus wave. Because Knights, and they said that they've improved the articulation on their figures, and they have cloth parts. Like, that would have been dope if all this was actual cloth, like fur, so that way sitting down on a horse would be so much easier. But I'll take it as it is. It's pretty good. My brother had the horse also. He had this like black horse with flames coming out of its nose and like bones and stuff on it. It was dope. But yeah, he barely remembered. I showed him this and he was like, I was like, do you remember this guy? He was like, no. And then I showed him a picture of the old figure, and then he was like, oh shit, I do remember this now. I'm like, dude, that was yours. I was so jealous. I wanted that figure bad. But now I have this figure. But because my parents they didn't always buy twos. Sometimes they would buy doubles of things or triples, one for me, one for him, my brother, and one for my sister. And that frustrated me. And that seemed to always happen when it was something I was into, because the little ones didn't know. They just saw a cool thing that their older brother got, and they were like, yo, we want that too. And so I constantly had doubles and triples. The good thing is when they got tired of that, I would end up with an extra version of whatever that figure is. So, I started using it to my advantage. But yeah, Warduke is an awesome figure. You should check out the others and see if they are as awesome as this guy is. And if I get any more, I'll keep you guys posted. Let's see. Mr. Freeze. We can talk a little bit more about this Mr. Freeze figure. The color scheme throws me off to a degree. Knowing that in the Arkhamverse, he wore this costume and it was blue. It was dark blue with the frost on it. I don't understand why they didn't just make this blue or black. I do get, because he's Mr. Freeze, you could do an Arctic theme as far as the color scheme goes, and it's not so bad. This gun came from this Total Heroes Mr. Freeze, and then I gave the McFarlane Mr. Freeze's gun to the Total Heroes one because it has the effect on it. And I hate when they do the effect part. I was about to chop it off, but they also even went a step farther, which I don't understand, and they made the nozzle of the gun or the barrel part of the effect that's plugged into the plastic part that's the gun. When typically what you do is everything that's the gun is one piece, it's one sculpt, and then the effect part is added in. I don't understand why they did it like this, but McFarlane tends to do some weird things when it comes to achieving the visions that they, are setting out to pull off. But I was like, I'm switching this shit. I want him to have a big gun he holds with both hands that has grips and stuff in different places, so he could be walking around holding it from the top or something like that. And yeah, I like it. But I dig that you can pull the helmet off and you can move the head how you want it. And then the helmet plugs in very specifically. You see there's like a notch, and that notch goes directly in the front You got to make sure that it's in the front and then push it all down, and there you go. It's on. And the way that the glass is slightly frosted, I dig that, because that frost kind of makes it look like, he's breathing in there. Really good shit. And I do also like that this, even though there are aspects of this that I'm pretty sure are reused parts from Blight, and I could be wrong. Blight is in the back of my display, so I don't feel like reaching out to go get him. He still looks enough like Mr. Freeze that this doesn't feel like a blatant reuse. So I'm cool with it. I'm not complaining, You know me, I hate reused parts. That's one of my least favorite things about action figure lines, is when they reuse the parts just because. I'm like, dude, you could have done so many different things. You did not have to reuse the freaking parts. But it's a really well done figure. I might repaint him, or I might just wait, because McFarlane, my history with McFarlane is whenever I have a problem with how a figure was released, then they release another version of the figure. And then that version will oftentimes, be the version I would have probably went for in the first place. Kind of like this with the Doomslayer. I saw the original and I was like, yes, I have to get him. And then I was like, I'll get him next time. I got the Marauder, but I didn't get him. Then I finally was like, fuck it, I will go and get the Doomslayer. And when I went to get him, I saw the prices for the McFarlane Doomslayer. Somehow the McFarlane Doomslayer and the Figma go for about the same price, which makes no sense and shows how fucking stupid, how gatekeeping some of you motherfuckers out there are, and how greedy you are. The whole point of a Figma versus a domestic McFarlane figure that's $20 is that you can see the detail is less, the paint is less. This is domestic. It's the essence of the figure. There's no way this figure is worth $100. And that bullshit where people say it's worth whatever you want to pay. No, that's the way idiots talk. Objectively, this isn't $100 worth of figure. Not in the manufacturing process, not weight, not paint, not accessory count, nothing. Yet you motherfuckers have tried to sell people on the concept of paying more to get less. When if you get the Figma has every weapon. He's got way better articulation. Torso can do stuff. This torso can barely do anything. It can move up or back, cannot move forward. As is always the case with McFarlane figures, and I don't understand why. The fix is the same fix that everybody's shown you. Pull off the top, cut a notch in the front so that the barbell can slide forward, and then you'll get a crunch. But we shouldn't have to do that. And damn sure I'm not going to pay $100 on the fucking secondary market to get a figure that hasn't really been improved in any kind of way, when I could spend that same $100 and get the fucking Figma that has paint everywhere, articulation everywhere that works amazingly, interchangeable parts like a retracted blade. He comes with all the different guns, parts, like effect parts, so that you can have the grapple claw like sticking out and you can have it pulled back in. You have muzzle flares, you have the Unmaker, you know what I mean? Like you have all the ability to make him do everything you saw him do in the game. So there's no reason why this should be as expensive as it is on the secondary. But anyway, I had this in my cart for a while, and I finally had pulled the trigger about a month ago, and he's pretty cool. He's pretty serviceable. He's not as awesome as the Marauder. It's a very basic figure. It's another reason why I don't understand why anybody would be paying fucking $100+ for this figure. You're an idiot if that's what you do, or you just got more money than sense. But there's no reason for you to pay that much money for this. But I always dug the version that had flames coming off of him, because it's like, damn, he's that powerful. He's like seething with power, just power exuding from him, I thought that was awesome. So this works for me. And there's a flame effect for the blade. I have that flame effect somewhere. I think I have it in my weapons box, so, it's not on here. But, very good looking figure. I'm very happy with him. I don't know that I'm doing a review anytime soon of him. There's not much to talk about besides what I'm showing you right here. I think a lot of people blow these characters out of proportion just because they like the character, and then the figure comes out and the figure is just, it's a figure. And then they do a fucking 30-minute review of this particular figure when there's not much to talk about, you know, not much paint, not much articulation, you know. He doesn't even, you can't really, even though there's a joint here, you can't really do the swivel, you know, or pivot. It's just a swivel. And then there's also a swivel at the knee, or, you know what I mean? It's a weird figure. It's just, you want to have a representation of him on your shelf. This is the figure to do it without breaking the bank. If you got serious bank or you want to spend that kind of money on the Doomslayer, go get the Figma, because he can do all the things. But he's cool. I'm not complaining in any way, shape, or form. He's cool. McFarlane, this is when he was getting his stride, you know, because he also did a One Punch Man figure. And I'm trying to track that figure down too, because you know me, One Punch Man is one of my favorite characters of all time. So I need to have, you know, a bunch of posable, thorough looking One Punch Man figures, because, you know, the Figma one is cool and he's posable, but he doesn't really look as hardcore. You can make him look hardcore, but he doesn't look as hardcore as he could. While we're on McFarlane still, Deadman. I was surprised at this figure because I didn't think I would ever find him, and it just works so well. Even in this lighting with the shadows and stuff, he looks so good. Look at that shit. And I knew that McFarlane would bring that extra, like, horror movie vibe to this figure. Look at that. Just looks so damn good. With the smoke and the, you know, his spirit jumping off of his body, or him turning into a spirit, I guess. It looks good. It even looks good where the way it's plugged into his body. Aesthetically. It plugs up here, but it looks good. And don't argue that it's not him. Look at the collar. That's what gives it away. It's not just smoke, it's his collar. But, yeah, I've never had a Deadman figure. Never. I never really thought about him like that, except for that episode of Justice League Unlimited, or maybe it was regular Justice League. I think it was Unlimited, when they went to Gorilla City, and he jumped into Batman's body and made him shoot somebody. I think he shot Devil Ray. He didn't kill him, but he definitely almost killed him, and that was pretty cool. I don't know if I showed this in another vid, but I got the Flash. I love this figure. It's just all kinds of dopeness. There's so much personality here. And this is an early one. This is another figure that, like, on the secondary, he goes for like 60 to 80 bucks. And I'm just like, I get that they're not making this figure anymore, but there are two versions of this figure. Why are you trying to scalp the shit out of people with these inflated prices for a figure that McFarlane revisited more than once? There's a 2-pack where you can get him with a pissed off face going up against Red Death, or yeah, I think that's what he's called, Red Death, from the Batman of the Dark Multiverse. And it's a cool looking figure. It's the exact same body. It's just a different face. And you're trying to tell me that makes sense, that you're going to charge that much more money. And you usually see that figure, I don't want to say peg warming, but you see people can't sell it for the price that they're asking, because, I mean, that shit doesn't make any sense. I mean, come on. You know? Come on. I mean, come on. But he looks great. And then I had his arch nemesis in my cart for over a year, because he also was going for stupid prices, and then he came down to $15, so I picked him up. Thawne. Zoom, Professor Zoom, Reverse Flash, whatever you want to call him. Reverse Flash has always been a dumb name to me, because if he was Reverse Flash, he would be slow. That's the reverse of the Flash. But Professor Zoom, or just calling him Thawne because of what his real name is, Eobard Thawne, that's the way I do it. He's a cool looking figure though. And he's pretty much the same body, just slightly different hands, a much different face. It's a pretty awesome figure. But yeah, now these two can duke it out, and my villains and my heroes in the McFarlane style are getting up there. Now, issues I have with this figure is I don't understand how they changed the range of motion in his torso. Why does it go back like that? Like, here's the Flash. That's how far he goes back. Why'd you fuck that up? Someone being lazy or something? Look at the gap. I don't know if it's just not in all the way or something. It's in. You know, I don't get the reason for that. How do you screw that up? Same in the back. Let's see if he does it that way. No, see, that's him all the way forward versus him all the way forward. Doesn't make sense. Look at that gap. So yeah, there's little things. And in his head, like, he can look all the way up. So if you stand him up straight, he's practically looking all the way up, right? His head only goes there. So you have to move his body all the way back like that to get him to look up. That doesn't make any sense. So I don't know what they did or why they did what they did, but, you know, there's some changes there. And I know people bitch and moan about McFarlane's articulation and stuff, but, like, I don't have a problem with the articulation most of the time. I've always been a fan of the anatomically correct thigh swivel. You know, like, that thigh swivel is in here and it's tight and it doesn't go that far, because in reality, you don't really go that far. I mean, that's what you do when you turn your legs. They usually work in conjunction with your hip. They don't just turn on their own unless you got bow legs or something. Whereas with Marvel Legends and a lot of other figures, they turn so much that you end up with these weird resting poses and stuff, you know, and it kind of gets annoying. Either you make it tight and then you do the old-fashioned cut across the thigh, or make it anatomically correct like Figuarts and McFarlane. But yeah, overall, this guy, I really like him. Really, I'm happy with him, even with the issues that he has, because, I mean, you don't have to use the extremes, you know? You never use the extremes as the, you know, the exceptions as the rule. And in this case, you know, it could be a QC thing. It's a number of things it could be. I mean, it's weird, though. I'm not going to lie. His torso does seem so different from his. But it's the same. It's just the way that it's all plugged together. But, very cool. It's nice to finally have those guys. And I recently was playing around with this guy, Saruman from Toy Biz, and he was greasy. So I read that there are chemicals that are put on, I can't remember the abbreviation for the chemical, but they spray a film on the finished figure that helps it, everything bond, and it kind of covers it. But after time, some figures start, this is 22 years old. So over time, those chemicals start to seep out, and then you end up with that film. I've still got some on here, but one of the ways you fix that is you boil the figure. Then you wash it off, and then, you know, the film comes off, and you can kind of get that out. So for the most part, I've gotten that off of this figure, but there's still areas like inside the cloak and stuff where I can feel it. You can kind of even see it. If I turn it on an angle, you can kind of see all that texture. It's supposed to be smooth, and it's smooth in some places and then not in others. The parts where it's not smooth, it's because that seeping is still happening. I think they don't use that chemical the same way anymore, or they use a better chemical now. So we don't see that as much, you know, with figures made probably in the last decade or so. Maybe it will take longer for that seepage to start happening, but it's just something to be aware of if you have old figures. What's strange, though, is this is a Toy Biz figure, This is a Toy Biz figure. He hasn't had that happen, and he's from before this one. He's older than this figure, but this one has that weird seepage. And many of my old Lord of the Rings style figures have it, where they got sticky or stuff bent, and just I couldn't get it to go back. And you know, some of them I had just standing up, but joints would bend and things like that. I started seeing it with some of the DCUC figures, but I would put them in the you know, I'd soak them in hot water, like boiling hot water, and get them, you know, all fixed up. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to talk about. Old figures. I mean, this is a beautiful sculpt, and I love this gnarly ass hand. You know, Christopher Lee did pull that shit off with those weird fingers and shit, and it looks good, you know? And he had, like, I think this is a magnet here for the eye. There's like a small orb with Sauron's eye in there. And I don't know what happened to that thing. It's been so long since I got this figure, and I'm pretty sure I got this guy brand new. So I don't remember what happened to him. He probably got left in the purge. Strangely enough, I managed to keep many of my Lord of the Rings figures. They were in a box that I brought with me when I first moved away from home. So it's kind of nice that I still was able to keep this guy. So much detail. Sometimes the pre-pose nature of the figure kind of sucks, but you know, this guy is kind of in between that. It looks great. You know, I always told you I love wizards, so evil wizard, and I have Gandalf the white, and I have the gray somewhere, or I had the gray. I think the gray got left in the purge, but the white is in my in a box of some of the extra figures I have. But yeah, I love these guys, man. They did such a good job with them. All right, this is kind of historic because, as you guys know, I absolutely despise the Riddler. But I pre-ordered this bad boy, and I love this figure. I always thought that the Arkham City version of this character was so cool because of the fact that he was actually more of a trap maker. You know, he murders people with traps and stuff. And so he is still screwing with Batman because he thinks he's super smart, but he makes like mazes and all that craziness, you know? And I thought that it's cool that now Batman has to outsmart him, and, you know, Batman and or Robin have to figure out how to survive his traps. That makes sense. That makes him a little bit more formidable than just some guy who steals shit and leaves these stupid messages. So in my universe, I've only ever had two figures of the Riddler. I had the original Superpowers version from Toy Biz, or DC Superheroes from Toy Biz, and Keaton Bats beat him so badly he broke. And then we just pretended like in universe he beat him into traction, and just we were like, Riddler's gone. Then I got the DCUC one from wave 16 or 17, the one when they had the double jointed elbows and knees, and I ended up taking him back because he just wasn't a good figure, and I had I think joints were stuck, and it just wasn't it wasn't a solid figure, you know? There were too many QC issues. I think that whole wave, with the exception of the Nightfall Batman and then the Bane Build-A-Figure, which was more of an accident than anything. I had put them together, and then when I took back the others, I was like, oh shit, I forgot to put the Build-A-Figure piece back in there. But I kept it. Because I was just like, fuck it. I mean, I can't pull them apart, so I can't give them the pieces that I want to keep that go to the figure that I kept, and then put all the other ones back. So I just kept them. But I don't know, oops. But I kept the Nightfall one, and the Nightfall figure is pretty awesome. I customized him further because I came up with some better ideas that matched how the character would appear later on in the series. But yeah, I only ever had those two, and that was the same design, you know, the bodysuit with the freaking question marks all over the place. But this, I like this. I like this a lot. Again, I don't know why movies aren't just following the Arkham City from Rocksteady's lead. This is the way you do it. You know? He looks great. He's not supposed to look formidable, But what he does is supposed to be problematic enough that it causes issues for bats. And then, remember this? This is the Arkham Knight Scarecrow. Let's zoom in because this shit is not doing what it's supposed to do. Now, I thought this was phenomenal. I got this from DC Collectibles. Kevin Kinry himself sent this to me after I sent my video of the review of the Arkham Knight, or maybe it was Origins, Deathstroke, and how his pauldrons kept breaking. And when I called customer service, they gave me a bunch of bullshit and told me I need to blame the comic book store. But I thought this was the epitome. This was amazing. Well, I was wrong. McFarlane did theirs, and holy shit. And this is a variant. He's all black. And it just, I mean, like, look at this. Night and fucking day. It's like there's details that are missing that are prevalent here on this one, you know? I'm telling you, like, people who sleep on McFarlane, they just don't get it. You know, it's like they're doing it out of spite. They're not doing it because objectively they're seeing the quality of the product. But, yeah, this guy's going. It's not terrible, but, you know, this is more my speed, and it's why I love the aesthetics from the Arkhamverse, because, I mean, just look at that. And then, like, this knee is a single jointed bend, whereas the other knee that works is a double jointed bend. It's almost like Toy Biz did something similar with Whistler. Whistler had one knee that actually could bend, and the other knee was fused, so he had a stiff leg. And then with Professor X, his legs had no, you know, they were just slack. They had no type of, you know, tightness to them to hold. So you couldn't pose his legs. And I showed you those in a video when I reviewed, I think it was Bishop and Gambit, Jubilee, and Forge. Because at the time, though, that was the small team I had. But yeah, I love these guys, man. I'm pretty happy that the villains, my rogues for bats, are getting back into, you know, sizable numbers. Because there's a lot of characters I never really was able to get, and definitely weren't able to get the versions of these characters that I wanted. I mean, like I said, for God's sake, at one point, this was the Mr. Freeze I was using. I still have the DC UC, or the DC Superheroes Mr. Freeze with the twin-barreled, huge, you know, freeze gun. But, you know, I had to do some upgrades, you know. But this guy, I mean, look at that. Look at that, man. Those eyes, like, this shit is perfect. Normally, I don't go for the variants. You know me. I don't like gimmicks, but this is a variant that made sense. It's like a Halloween variant or something, but this makes sense. So I'm good, and I'm happy that they did this, and I'm rolling with that. So the last thing I want to talk about is going to be, I don't know, it's more on the Mythic Legions front. I know people are going to try to crucify me because I'm the only person saying these things, but, you know, objectivity is objectivity. I can't sit here and be objective about these things, but not be objective about other things. So I recently got this, and it was on my most fun, most unfun. This is the Build-A-Horse from the Dark Knight Returns wave from McFarlane. I paid less than $80 for that wave. I think they were about 90 something or $85 when it came out. And there's issues, don't get me wrong, like this tail is heavy, so it throws off its weight when you stand it. But other than that, overall, this is a very good horse. You know, and it's big enough that you can put Motu guys on it. I mean, look how big it is next to Figuarts is already small, but look at how big he is compared to Figuarts. Then look how big he is next to even a McFarlane figure. It looks right, you know? So, you know, and here are the previous horses. I brought my V-Toys Ninja out. I mean, look at that. Look at the difference. It's like he's riding a donkey in comparison. The donkey. Look at that. So I'm gonna, I've been using that larger horse for, setups with other figures because it just looked right, The scale looked correct. Not to say that there aren't small horses. All horses aren't created equal in their size. There's different proportions, different sizes for horses. But that's kind of just something I noticed. And so as you see, you have your ninja on the horse. It looks right now. He's not riding a child's horse, a pony. And that looks cool. It looks legit. The horse looks healthy and big. And, the proportions are there. So then I got, actually before this, I had picked up Roach for The Witcher. And I love this because I'm a big fan of The Witcher. Still haven't beaten all the games, though, but I have read the books. And I feel like this captures the essence. This is Roach from the TV show. And there's that space for extra swords if you have them. So I put this extra steel sword right here, just like he has it in the show. But this works really well. It's not as big as the Dark Knight Returns horse because in proportion to the Batman that should be sitting on this horse, Batman's a lot bigger. So they had to make the horse bigger. You can just see it. Like, look at the legs and the head. The two heads are different sizes. Like, there's a lot of differences that kind of Geralt is just struggling to stay on his damn horse. Dude, you're a witcher. Act like a witcher, motherfucker. Stay on your horse. But like you see the oof, that's terrible. And I'm always talking about pose your figures and shit, Oof, that's horrible. There we go. You see the legs, skinnier legs. I'll zoom in so you can see that better. These hoofs are tinier. Those hoofs are huge. I mean, look at them. You got to be able to see the difference, So I'm looking at these and it's two different figures that are roughly within the same kind of scale. And it's dope. Again, he was 40. This was the culmination. It was essentially accessory parts with figures that I got for less than $20 a piece. Okay. Sword and sandals stuff. We don't get that much of it, but we get it from time to time. So anyway, we move over here and I get my Mythic Legions Alder, which I love the figure. Never had a moose before. I've taken some cool pictures with him. I'll post them in the, I'll put them up as we're doing this. And he's got, some cool details. I love the horns and stuff. The stirrups are nice. Of course. Of course. But anyway, this figure was like $110. We'll just move him off for now. This homeboy, this figure is hit or miss for me. I loved him at first, and the more I play with him, the less I like. But look at that. So much cool detail. But, I've seen moose before, and they're usually huge. Why is this horse bigger than Alder? You would have thought that, like, if I traded bodies, you would have thought that Alder would have been the larger of the two figures because he is a freaking moose. Moose are bigger than horses, a lot bigger than horses. Let's get closer. But you can see it. Alder's not bigger than this moose. He has a bigger head than the horse, but like objectively, a lot of their body is the same size. And then he has all this hornage, these big ass horns. But overall, he's not really as large as he should be, given who and what he is, you know? And I'm thinking to myself, this is crazy, you know? And on top of it, you know, I've already told you about like the issues I have with Mythic Legions in general. The figures are overrated like to a crazy degree. I mean, this dude is an axe wielder, and this is as close as he can hold his axe with two hands. So, you know, all those poses where you would want to put his arms up and put them over his head like this, you can't, because he can't really hold the axe. I mean, that's about as good as you'll get it. And his head can't turn much. It pops off real easily. I mean, I have issues with him. He's cool looking, you know, and the fact that he's a black elf, you know, that's something you don't see every day. But it's like the more I play with him, the more unfun this figure is. And that's bad, considering that Mythic Legions are supposed to be, you know, they're made by the He-Man people. How is it Mattel is able to recapture what made He-Man figures fun without the Horseman, but then the Horseman's own line is only appealing to people who don't actually play with their figures? You know? Like, it's strange to me. And I'll put the axe in his hands. He doesn't even get a unique axe. This is what I was talking about earlier when I was saying that, like, there's a lot of things that they could do differently that would put this figure line over for most people. You know, instead it's just that weird fan base that, like, they're babysitting their computers to get a hold of these figures. So this is him holding his axe back. It's as much as he can do. So those poses where you would have him jumping, let me pull back so you can see what I'm talking about. He's jumping and he's trying to come down with his axe. I mean, you can make it work. Don't get me wrong. I have an imagination and I have ingenuity when it comes to posing figures, but you know what I mean? Like, that's what we get. That's what we got. That's about as much as we're going to be able to do with him. You know? Turning his head always looks somewhat unnatural because, again, they didn't give you enough space between the head and the hair to allow you to turn his head without the head popping off. You could even made his neck just a little bit longer and then make the hair have a hinge of its own, kind of like what Revoltex do. And you could move the hair up and down and get it out the way, you know, side to side. Get it out the way. No, they did nothing. This is another figure that goes for a decent amount of money because he's a unique design. He's a unique character. But the engineering is where these figures, I think, are failed, is that they need unique engineering. Like, these puffy arms should be more form-fitting, and there should be more of a curve in here so that he can hold the axe with two hands directly in front of him, instead of you having to fake it and do something like this, where from this angle it looks like he's holding it with two hands, but when you look at it, look at the distance, you know? It's weird, because like you're seeing him from the top. This is me turning his head so that he can look. This is it. His head is almost popping off. It's literally, like, if you look at the ball, let me zoom in. It's resting. Let's see if we can get some light in there. Can we see the ball joints? You kind of can. You can't see it as much. Let's see if we move over here a little bit closer to the light. To the light. Run towards the light. The light. They can take the light. Okay, there you go. You see it? It's balancing on the ball. That's the best I could do in order to get it to turn over here. So for a picture, that's awesome. If you're playing with him, that shit's going to fall off real quick. So I get that these figures, I'm starting to see that, like, either you play with them and you ignore the fact that you do anything and boop, head falls off. And you just keep putting the head back on and hoping it doesn't fall off, you know? Or you get them strictly so you can pose them and have them look nice on your shelf, and that's it. I don't believe in that. That's a waste of your money. If that's the case, I should be paying half as much for this figure. Same thing goes for Alder. Alder is big and he's a cool mount, but like there should be more that's different about him to warrant the price. Now I get it. It's the secondary market, but this figure's only been out for a couple months. and he's already $100-something. All the mounts are like that. As soon as they come out, they always jump up in price, and it's frustrating because if you're not 100% committed to like babysitting your computer every time the Horsemen release something, you're going to be stuck paying these ridiculous prices for whatever it is they release. I'm not about that life. You know what I mean? Like, I want quality. There's no reason why I should be paying the same for, the mount that I'm paying for, a Mezco figure that actually is worth a damn, Like, why would I pay what I paid for the Mezco Blade figure, the same amount I'm paying for this mount? It's not even comparable. It didn't even say his name on the box. You know what I mean? And it's not, I didn't get a bootleg. This is the legit actual thing. So I have some issues with the way they do stuff. And then I'm looking at other people doing, as usual, I'm looking at McFarlane. Figma also does a horse that's fully posable, goes for about $60, which I know that's roughly what these guys cost. But the Figmas stay at 60, new or used, while this goes for 100, 200, 400. I've seen this go for so much. It's ridiculous. I was looking at Arethyr, I think his name is, the flaming dude with the wings, and he looks like the mouth of Sauron, and he goes for like $400 with the horse, and then the horse itself usually is like $100 to $200 by itself, and I'm like, why? It doesn't do anything different from the others. It's just got flaming hoofs. It's a different color palette, and it doesn't even have wings. None of that shit. And it goes for that much money. Whereas Arethyr by himself sometimes goes for, $100, $80 to $90. Like, I've seen him vary. And I'm just saying to myself, what are we paying for with these things, So I don't know. You are going to see me with the Poxus stuff and a bunch of the Necronominus stuff, because I'm hoping that stuff is worth a damn. The Necronominus shit is... I've already paid for it, so I just got to wait for it to come in and, hope for the best. But I'm frustrated with Mythic Legions. I always seem to have buyer's remorse when I finish with a Mythic Legions figure, Considering I spent about what I've paid for a lot of Mythic Legions on the secondary, I've spent on this ninja, and the ninja, he's just a regular ninja, but he has, soft goods costume, and he comes with so much gear. I get so much fun out of this guy in comparison to this guy who looks amazing, whose storyline wise, I could come up with so much story for him, and, having him next to Artemis is amazing, because these are the two like leaders of that faction essentially, and I love it. But like, he's not the best figure, and I know a lot of people like him, but if you really think about what you do with him versus what you think of the look of the character, objectively, he's just not that great of a figure. And it's crazy because I was into him initially, like when I first got him. And then the more I spend time playing around with him, the less I liked him. And it's not because he's not a ninja, and it's not because he's not something more mainstream. It's just because the way that they make their figures is a very antiquated, very like ignoring the times, and all the advancements that we've made in action figures. When I can spend $20 and get this, or spend $20 and get the freaking the Witcher over there, and he can do all these things, with all that armor on. Why the fuck would I waste the money anymore and be, sweating this right here? It doesn't make sense. When together, these two were $60 all together, whereas together these two were almost $200. That's crazy. You know what I mean? That's crazy. And I get it. People are going to say, oh, the Four Horsemen are a small company. Not really. Not really. Just like Valaverse is technically not a small company anymore. You know what I mean? The Four Horsemen are damn sure not really a small company. It's just less people. They're not a corporation, so to speak, but they're a pretty big company as far as what they pull in. versus, the cost to make what they're making versus connections to factories and things to make this stuff. They have the connections. They have the money. All their Kickstarters blast past whatever their goals are. They don't even need Kickstarter to make stuff anymore. So it's one of those things where I'm seeing it. I don't know how many other people are paying attention to it. I know most of you just want to get cool shit. So, you can take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But for those of you who care about the process and care about, the quality and the paper to plastic ratio, this shit matters. If I can go to McFarlane and I can get this, and he's fully posable, he can this figure can two-hand this sword. And I'll show you on camera because they measured out his arms so that he could put his arms in front of his chest. You don't even have to have the joint, the butterfly joint, to make the arms pass over the chest. And look at that armor, $20, man. I think I got this for less than 20, but look at this. I can make him hold this weapon with both hands, and he can hold it right in front of his face. Look at this shit. Look at the joints in his hands, the up and down joint. It's like a universal, so you can do all that stuff. He can hold this in front of his chest. Look at that. How many Mythic Legions can do that? So if you wanted this figure to be a guard, you had a spear or something, you could just put him like this holding it. Look at this. I can even have him holding it out like he's getting ready to attack with it because his hands have the joints. Why is it that we can't get that with Mythic Legions and we can't get that with other figures that we're paying way more money for? It doesn't make sense. There's a problem with a lack of engineering and like actual engineering versus cost. More engineering usually will amount to a more expensive figure because you have more intricate parts. And so the molds and the process get more intricate, so you need more pieces. Less engineering usually amounts to a cheaper figure. And you can look up the research to all this. That's why when you had 5 points of articulation for your figures, they were super cheap in comparison to what we got now. So these prices don't make sense. It's not the licenses because this is an original IP. This is a license and this is $20. He's 35, and then on the second, he's 60. And then on the secondary, they're just whatever the fuck. This is just a generic, it's a ninja. That's it. They chose a style, but he's a ninja and it's an original IP for them. He could be anywhere from $60 to $70. That's the retail. That's the MSRP for them. And it's a freaking import. And you get your full money's worth, Freaking Shira over there, $30. She comes with some interchangeable parts and everything, but she's got a lot of articulation. She doesn't have a ton of paint on her, but essentially it's all the pieces that you can switch around that give her all of her playability. Why is it that we can get that, but for the price that we're getting, but then not here? You know what I mean? Like, I don't get that. And I don't get how I shouldn't say I don't get. I get it because there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of, dick riders out there that spend a lot of time trying to jump on the bandwagon of anything that gets popular. But, it doesn't change the fact that some of these figures, they just don't deliver. I was really pleasantly surprised at the fact that the turtles over here from Super 7 actually deliver. I didn't expect them to. And so when I got them all, when I got Leo in hand, I was like, holy shit, he's pretty damn cool. Then I got Raphael, and I'm like, damn, it's the same figure. Same, from a technical standpoint, they're the same figure with slightly different cosmetic details, different heads, and different belts. And then, of course, the paint job or, whatever color they're molded in. But all together, they work. Like Donatello has 2 of the up and down hands so that you can point the staff better. Leo also has 2 of those. I think Raph does too. Mike doesn't. But Mike doesn't need it. Mike has that crazy expression for his second head. I have all of them with their secondary heads, and I love the way they look. So it was just cool to see this done right. And then, realize that, like, Super 7 can do some of this stuff correctly. They just don't do Motu right, you know? Then you come back to the Four Horsemen, who aesthetically I love their designs, but like from the engineering standpoint, I'm always left wanting more. That's why I really hope that Necronominus marks the beginning of them taking things more seriously and understanding that this is 2023, it's not 1995. We need more articulation on our figures. We need better engineering on the figures. It's not just paint job, because they seem to coast by on amazing paint jobs for their figures. I mean, the bolts on his armor are painted. You see that? They're bronze. I'll get up closer so you can see that. Look at those bolts. And there's no overspray. Some amazing details when you think about it. Look at his hair. No overspray. It's pretty amazing, you know? You got to give props where they're due. The leaves in his hair. Look at that shit. It's phenomenal. But, like, that alone shouldn't be essentially the standard by which you judge the whole line. Oh, they have amazing paint jobs and nothing else. Most of the figures, like this axe, has come with a bunch of other characters, and he's supposed to be special, you know? He should have his own axe because he's special. He's, you know, literally one of the lead characters. He's almost royalty. He's the monster hunter for this group, for the elves. He should have a special axe with a name, you know what I mean? And they give him the same axe that a whole bunch of other guys come with. It's dumb. Yet the Witcher can come with 2 specific swords for him. You know, like someone's slacking when it comes to some of this stuff. I remember with what's his name? The guy that I turned into Strident. Gorgo, Aetherblade. He doesn't even come with the fucking Aetherblade. You had to wait for that $100+ 2-pack with him and Attila for him to come with the Aetherblade. Like, what the fuck is that about? What's the point in having special weapons if you're always going to charge people for the special weapons? They're only special in the hands of the character they're supposed to go to. It's part of their character, part of their identity. Put that shit in a box with them, you know? So anyway, I'm off my soapbox with them. It frustrates me because I really love their aesthetics, and I love like the fact that they're doing something that is, you know, it's kind of like on par with He-Man and stuff. It's just darker. And I wish they would figure out a way to make this stuff more cost effective, because, you know, it doesn't make sense. It's kind of like Mezco recently. They've been fucking up with their Batman 89 release. We've waited 3 and almost a half years. And when I see what we've received, which they should be shipping out, so I think they started shipping out a week or 2 ago, and people are posting pictures. There's some terrible reviews online. I think the best one I've seen so far was from Mad Hatter. He was the most objective. And when I say terrible, I'm saying terrible because a lot of you cannot be objective. You're so biased that you use kid gloves on a figure that you waited 3 years for. And it does simple things wrong that they previously did right. Because this isn't the first Batman figure they're doing. Remember, the first figure they started the 112 Collective with was Batman from The Dark Knight Returns. It's a stellar figure. Cape is well done. They didn't give you 2 capes. Instead, they had that weird armature thing that allowed you to pose the cape, which sucked. But then they fixed it when they released the Supreme Knight, which was the 3rd of their Batman trilogy. You know, they did the Ascending, the Sovereign, and the Supreme Knight. I got all of them. The Supreme Knight comes with 2 capes, a drape cape that actually drapes, and then a wired cape. It's funny how Batman 89 comes with 2 capes. One is supposed to be a drape cape, and it doesn't actually drape. Then the other one has wires in it, so you can pose that one. But yet, most of the reviews, they're like, this cape looks amazing. You're watching that thing go straight out. Straight. It doesn't drape like it's supposed to, the way you see in all the pictures, because they used the wrong material. Essentially, they just gave you 2 of the same cape. One sans the wire for $100. That's bullshit. Yet everybody's saying, oh, I love this figure. It's so great. Blah, 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 blah. It's like you can't even call a spade a spade. And it's ridiculous. Objectivity is important because that way we can force companies to improve. You know what I mean? Especially the big companies that have the means to do so. Think about it. Mezco can make a 3-pack of Justice League characters or a 4-pack for their Ninja Turtles. They can even afford to have the Ninja Turtle license. They're not a small company. You know, they have Marvel, they have G.I. Joe, and Ninja Turtles, just to name a few, as well as DC, like movie DC and comic book DC. Same goes for like some of the other Marvel stuff. They're not a small company. You know, they also, Super 7 is doing Transformers, they're doing G.I. Joe, they're doing Godzilla, they're doing Power Rangers. Like, those are all licenses. They got to pay for that shit. Silverhawks, they're doing it. They're not small companies, you know, because they can afford these things. All those licenses cost money, you know, and if they can afford to do all the licenses, it's not a small company. Not to say that the figures can't cost a decent amount of money, because they should, but it should be within, you know, within reason. It can't be ridiculous, you know, because we know that the licenses, it doesn't work out that way. You know, they make more pieces than, well, actually they make less these days than what they used to do. And it's probably more, the retail price or the MSRP for each of these figures is way more than, you know, if they sell every piece that they're making, they're bringing in way more than the cost for the fucking IP, you know, for the license for that IP. So it's one of those things, you know, that we got to demand a little bit more from them, and we got to be more aware of how these things work, how things sell, you know, especially since we're adult collectors. It's different when you're a kid and you're collecting, because you don't give a shit about all this stuff. I didn't give a shit about this stuff when I first started collecting, because I was just getting cool characters I like, and I wanted them so I can make them fight, you know, just hit them together and play and choreograph fight scenes and shit. Now, making figures, I know the cost, you know, for each process, and then seeing what we're getting versus what I'm doing. It's the same thing I said when I used to work at, I used to sell my books at conventions. I would do a sketch for $5 that would be pencil and ink, and it would be finished. Then I go over to the people I looked up to, and a lot of them would do a scribble for like $40 because their name is on it. And it would look like shit. And I'm like, somebody is going to put that up on their wall, and that's their memory of meeting you in real life. I fucking refuse to be part of that. You come to me because you like what I do and it's quality, I'm going to give you quality. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing for these reviews. So, you know, and the same thing with the figures that we're releasing. Quality, you know, it's important. And as much as I talk about it on this channel, there's no way I'm going to release something or be involved with something that's of low quality. Fuck that. That makes no sense. So anyway, I think that's going to conclude this video. It's kind of nice to sit down and just chat about figures. I want to do this with, you know, my ninjas on board as well. This was impromptu. I figured I would jump on and talk about it. I'm still very apprehensive about the Batman 89 figure. From what I've seen, I'm not impressed, but time will tell. We'll see what happens when I get it in hand, so I can actually show you guys what's going on and give you a nice, good, objective view of this figure. And then we go from there. But anyway, this is just a little bit of what's going on in my world. You know, you'll be seeing some more stuff. You guys should definitely jump on the Patreon. I upload so much on that channel, or on that page on my Patreon. So many thoughts from my car. I've done a lot of movie reviews on there. We tackle a lot of stuff that people on YouTube typically don't seem to be interested in, even though it pertains to what we see on YouTube. You know, I talk about other things besides just action figures. Sometimes we get into the day-to-day type of grind type shit, relationship stuff. It's a little bit of everything because we're grown, you know. We don't just only play with toys. So yeah, you guys should check me out on there. And yeah, I guess this is going to do it for the video. That is it for me. You guys have been great. Peace outside.